What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Average Joe Rating Climb. We're 1958. We're playing against a 1950 who plays the Alekine's defense. I'm not super familiar with the lines after you push, which is really the best move. But what I can do is just play knight c3 and defend my pawn. And now black, yeah, they could play d5, but now we kind of transpose into something else. And I like to play a gambit here, but I think in this game, I'm just going to take the pawn. Sometimes I'll play d4 and go into like a black Mar Daymar gambit, but I'm just going to go like this, attack the knight here, and develop a piece, lining up on the weak square. I don't want to take this way and give black the option to trade and force me to lose castling rights. So I'm going to take back with this pawn. And you'll notice it supports d4. We can get a nice, good grip on the center, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just do that right away. I expect black to probably play a move like bishop f5, developing the bishop. There we go. So you always want to just check, like, do you have any tactics available? For example, like, does this fork win a piece for me? Well, the answer is no. The bishop can just go back, but you want to make sure you're considering those types of moves because sometimes there are tactics and you might miss them if you're not paying attention. So like queen f3, I don't think quite works. Now that's an interesting thing to consider because the bishop is under attack. Let's say they play e6. We could play g4 and maybe take it. I don't really know how good that's going to be for me. Maybe it's good, but I think instead I'm just going to develop my knight and try to castle quickly. No need to go crazy here. I think just solid development is the way to go. I do like this open b file. This looks like it could be a pretty annoying move for black, actually, rook b1. So the question is, do I want to do it immediately or do I want to castle first? And I think I am going to go ahead and do it immediately. The reason being, if black plays a move, for example, like b6, I think they're just losing. I think they're just losing to bishop b5. We pin the knight, and then we can follow up with knight e5 and just take it. Okay? So they have to probably play an awkward move like rook b8 or queen c8 or something. And so that's why I'm just kind of jumping on this opportunity. There's no risk to my king at the moment for staying in the center. So I'm just delaying castling. It's ready whenever I need it. And we do see rook b8 to defend the pawn. So awkward move when you have to defend with the rook like that. Let's see if there's a way to bishop b5 to threaten the pawn is actually a pretty annoying move. Not going to lie, because we could still play knight e5 and pile up here. Again, it's a question of would I rather castle. So here's the thing. If I castle, they move their bishop and I go here, they always have the option to get away. They just castle and there's no longer a pin. It's not as dangerous to them. But if I go right away and they play bishop e7, now I have time to play knight e5 and kind of jump on this opportunity. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go for it. Bishop to b5. And they are trying to get their king away, right? And this is what I was talking about. Now I have this move knight e5, which I think I'm going to play right now. Yeah, let's do it. This looks very annoying for black because you don't have the bishop to really help. If you try to come in, yeah, they're just going to give me the pawn. Now, which way should I take? What do you guys think? Hopefully you said with the bishop, because if I take with the knight, I'm in trouble, actually. The pawn captures. Now I can't take back because I'm pinned, okay? I have to make sure I get this right, but we're going to take with the bishop first. Opens up my rook. And now we're going to be able to follow up with a fork. Now let's just calculate to make sure I'm not missing something. But if I take here, they could take my rook. I could take their queen. They would take my knight. So at the end of the day, they get a rook and a knight. I get a queen and a pawn. Definitely a good trade. The other way that I could do this would be to take here first, they take back, and then I take here with a fork on the queen and the bishop. However, it's not as powerful, I don't think, because the queen could just come over to e8 and defend. And then, yeah, the game goes on, but I don't think that's as good as going ahead and winning the queen. Now, the only thing I need to consider, takes. Do I have a way to get out of this pin? Because if I don't, this could actually turn out badly for me with bishop to a3, hitting my bishop. Now that I look at this, wow. You guys see that problem? If I take first, this is actually quite annoying. Takes. If I try to castle, I'm too slow. He just moves the bishop. Actually, that's not totally true. I guess I could sack the queen back, but that's going to just lead to like an even endgame, I think. that true? Yeah. I don't think that's going to work for me. That pin is just too dangerous if I'm not mistaken. So I will change my plans and take here and grab a pawn. Now, it's still good. I still want a pawn. So nothing bad, but you have to be careful. There were some pitfalls to worry about. Oh, I just noticed I could play 97 too. So here we have a really interesting situation. I can get the pawn for free and also force my opponent to play a pretty passive move, queen to e8. And the reason I say pretty passive move, now the rook is bottled up. You're stuck defending. I could just keep on the offensive here with something like queen f3 and castling. I have a pretty nice position. But this is also pretty good. I just get a fork. They move somewhere and I just get the knight for the rook. Also can't complain about that. So which one is better? I'm not actually sure. Something tells me I should take here. I just have a feeling that like this is going to be more annoying to my opponent. Am I right about that? Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm pretty happy with my position here. I can even take another pawn. Might be too greedy. I think I need to get my queen out. Let's defend and get ready to castle here. I think we're... The reason I want to keep my knight here as long as possible is because it's putting pressure on the bishop. It means the queen is tied down. And if the queen is tied down, then the rook is stuck. Black's pieces are all bottled up. Okay. Now, of course, they can move the bishop. Yeah, which they do. And now the queen can move. But I still like... situation. Yeah, let's go ahead and castle. I think this is important. Get the king out of the center. We don't want to get stuck in the center and have something bad happen. So get the king to safety. 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. So yes, we're up a pawn right now. This guy looks weak as well. And also, actually, I'm noticing bishop a3. I might have missed that, actually, just now instead of castling. Probably had that one. They're going to give me another opportunity. Yeah. So bishop a3 is a killer move because the rook is trapped. And you have no way to stop me from just taking it. Unless you're going to go here, but that doesn't do anything. Okay, so they are trying to be sneaky here. Hold on. So if I take, they take. Yes, that is a problem, isn't it? Okay. We probably need to move the knight. They are going to have bishop e7, so I think I should at least take the pawn, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I missed the best opportunity would have been right here. I should have played it immediately, and I don't think black had any good moves. I did give them an opportunity. All right. Well, I want to take this pawn. I just want to make sure that I don't get my knight trapped. I don't think so. I think I could play like c4 and it's always going to be able to escape, I believe. e5, I don't believe is working. Yeah, let's take the pawn. You have to be careful moving your knight like this where the bishop is totally cutting off and the queen, all the escape squares. But I think c4 is going to be a nice way to support it and get it out of there. I think black has to play bishop e7 and the queen gets lured off of that diagonal. But I'm waiting. Yep. So actually, I could even take this opportunity to just immediately save the knight. Let's do that. Let's just get it out right now. Of course, they can trade, but I am up a pawn. So this guy will be very valuable in the endgame, especially if I can swing a rook behind it, which looks like I can. So trading these guys is going to be good for me. Of course, black doesn't have to trade. Move like queen a3 would probably be good. They go for d6 instead. Does attack my knight, so we have to move that. Maybe here. Maybe here. e4. I don't know. I just like this nice centralized square. I can jump back to d3 and then go to wherever I want. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think black could have played queen a3 though, and I don't know if I was going to defend that pawn. Let me drop back. There is bishop b5, but I think we just move our rook somewhere. Get away from the pin. I don't think that's a big deal. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and actually put it behind the pawn. And if I can start pushing this pawn, I think that's going to be really valuable to me. So get away from the pin. Set up for the future here with something like a4. I mean, why not? Let's push it. We even have the queen lined up here. So this is very dangerous. There is bishop d5, I guess. I could play knight b4 to stop that and then push it. I don't know. Knight c5, though, just feels like a really nice square for the knight, too. So I'm going to try to pick up the pace a little bit. We're at that 3-minute mark. He's attacking my knight. Both of these will gain me a tempo on the queen. Let's go to c5. It just feels a bit more aggressive. We have, maybe we go here. Maybe we take this. Supports 2 squares of the pawn pushing. Okay. Yep, here we go. This is a very dangerous pawn. This is a very dangerous pawn. All right. Does that concern me? It's probably worth defending, just because if I lose this, I lose the outpost for my knight. So it probably is worth defending that. I'll play queen e3 to defend it. They take. I'm going to take with the queen. I think trading the queens makes sense because this pawn is so powerful. I think black's going to have a hard time. I think I will take with the queen here. Also, given the time situation, trading queens makes my life a little bit easier. I'll go ahead. Okay, they're not going to do that. Okay, I don't want to get back rank mated. So I'm going to just play... I'm going to play f3 here. Let's my king have some breathing room. I can also potentially head for the center if I need to. I'll go ahead and trade with the queen like I said. Of course, they don't have to take me, but I am threatening their bishop, so they're limited in what they can do. d5 might be a move. Okay, they do trade, and now we have the endgame. Yeah, and this is probably going to win me the game. So let's just bring the king. I guess I could push it twice. No, but they could just go to a7. Yeah, let's just bring the king. We definitely are going to want our king over there. Let's go ahead and bring the king. And how do we do this? I guess I'm going to just zigzag across, try to get maybe to b4. Definitely at least c3 to make this bishop move. And I'm close enough that I could defend if I need to. Not that simple. Definitely a good ending for me, but it's not that simple to win. You can't go king b5. We have rook b1 and we win the bishop. The bishop's going to move somewhere. Maybe we just advance one more time. There is the opportunity to potentially go after the pawns on the other side. Even abandoning this guy at the right moment could be a strategy to keep in mind, and hoping that you can get some of these pawns. Okay, he goes that way with the bishop. So I'm going to go ahead and push it now. What I'm trying to do is free up my rook, right? Now it's defended by the knight. I want to free up my rook to do other things. Like if I can get this rook here, that's very dangerous, okay? Even if we end up losing this a pawn, if we're able to just start munching on all these other pawns, it would be a nice trade, right? I have to go faster. I'm going a little bit too slow. So let me try to pick up the pace. Down to 1 minute. Yeah, we got to move at this point. We have to move, but we also have to make good decisions. So let's make sure my king is in good position to support the pawn if we need it. See, can I sneak down here? What's my threat? This might be annoying. Something like this. Somehow grabbing some extra pawns. Okay. Go ahead and invade. Don't exactly know where I'm going with the rook yet, but just looks like it could be unpleasant for the king if I put it in check here. I have to watch out for this, that I don't get forked. That would be a sad way to lose the game. Plays c6. Okay, I'm going to go with a check. And I wonder if I can sack. It might be time to sack and just run up my king and push the pawn. I think the rook would have to sacrifice itself. So like on king e7, yeah, I think now is the moment, especially with the time situation. Takes here, here, here. I don't think he's able to stop it. Do it. So we're just going to come up, and the rook's going to have to sacrifice itself. We're going to have an end game where we have an extra knight. That's what I'm envisioning is about to happen here. And I think 53 seconds should be enough time to win this. So let's go ahead, attack the rook. We'll attack it again. Here, I think we can get away from the checks. Yeah, I think we should be able to get away from the checks. Actually, can I get away from... Now I'm not so sure. Now I'm not so sure. Can I go here is my plan? Because he was just going to keep checking me, right? Back and forth, back and forth. So I'm trying to get my knight here to support the pawn that way. I think this should do the trick, guys. Okay. Get my knight back into the action quickly here. I want to try to take this d5 pawn and push my pawn before black can create any counterplay. Yeah, so tricky endgame. This should be relatively straightforward at this point. The knight's pretty powerful in this kind of situation. So we'll go here. I could have checked. I messed that up, but it's fine. Now that we have this d pawn, shouldn't have too much trouble. Jack, pawn. And we're just going to use the knight to force the king out of the way. Okay, there's no stalemate. The king has somewhere to run. Also has an extra pawn. We can come up and get the queen. Okay, and we can just do a basic queen checkmate here. Need to get fancy. You could also get another queen if you want and you're more comfortable with that. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to do it this way. Get the king into position and deliver the checkmate. Okay, they do resign. All right. So tough game, but that extra pawn actually was enough to win it for us, as you saw, and there was an interesting tactic along the way. So let's take a look at the game review on that one. Yeah. All right. So our opponent didn't play too bad. Let's see. What can we talk about here? Interesting. Stockfish basically just said, just forget about the pawn. It wanted to play bishop d6. And, there's this move knight a5 forking. Well, isn't that clever? Here takes queen e2. What? Wow, this is wild stuff. You're attacking the knight. You're also attacking the bishop because of the pin. So castles, and then you take the knight back. Crazy stockfish stuff. Yeah, but at this moment, let's just see. So stockfish did want me to do this. I'm really curious. What was the move after this? Because I was convinced I had no way to get out of this pin. Bishop a3. I was convinced I had no way to do this. Oh, you just played queen d2. Look at that. I just totally missed this move. Just play queen d2, and black's not threatening anything. You just take it. Oh, wow, look at that. So I did miss an opportunity there because I missed the follow-up to that. Now, an interesting thing I just noticed, Stockfish says, instead of taking back this knight, black can actually play that bishop move right away. Now it's a different story because I'm not castled yet. So now I have to take it, sack this, and then they can take. And now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. Yeah, so I'm up a pawn. White opposite colored bishops. Mine's a dark squared bishop. This is a light squared bishop. I don't know if I would have liked this. Honestly, I don't think so. So I'm kind of happy with the approach that I took, although I did miss a few things there. Okay, and then, yeah, I think, oh, I missed bishop a3, like I said. Okay, and then at the end, I just wanted to touch on this briefly. This is pretty common where you get a really nice position. Like, let's just say right around here. You get a really nice position, but how do you win? How do you win the game? So a6 is the first step. We want to free up our rook. So we get the knight defending it. Now our rook is free to move around, okay? And then a lot of times it's really common that you would get a position like this. And Stockfish is saying you can win by coming over here, rook h8, or you can try to come here or here, which is fine. But if you see an opportunity to do something like this, that usually is the easiest thing for us humans to do, right? Simplify the game. Come in with the king. There's no way for black to deal with this except eventually sacrifice their rook. I did have to figure out exactly how, which turned out to be this knight a6 move. Actually, probably should have played knight b8 now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, just block off the rook completely. That's even better. Now you can't stop you from getting a queen. But the point is, here's the point. These little sacrifices, a lot of people can miss, and you might end up losing this game on time because you like start dancing around with your rook, and next thing you know, you have 30 seconds, and then you're really in time pressure, right? So you have to be on the lookout. When can I just simplify? Even if I have to sack, simplify into the end game that I know I can win, right? And once you get this position where you force him to give up, his rook, now it's pretty easy, right? Okay, let's go to the next game. I hope that makes sense for you guys. And here we go. I get white again against 1974. You know what? I haven't played d4 in a while. Let's play how they play the French, so it's not going to matter too much. We could play the Collie. Yeah, we'll play the Collie. Why not? Ah, they're going for this Owens setup. Okay, no big deal. Yeah, we'll just continue with the Collie. I think the Collie's fine against this. Of course, we don't let him capture us here. Let's castle. Let me put my knight on d2. Probably will play c3. Just typical Collie setup here, and we're going to just play rook e1 and e4. e1 and e4. Yep, c5. No surprise there. Let me just think about this. Is now a good time? I think it is. So here we go with e4. Take back with the knight so that we can let our bishop out on c1. There we go. Bishop comes out. And I think I'm going to go with the isolated pawn. I guess I could take with the knight. So yeah, this is an interesting moment because this is the isolated queen pawn, which is good because you get control of some key squares, but it's also a long-term weakness that it could be attacked. My knight, I like the fact that it can go to e5 and g5, so I don't really want to go to d4 unless I had a clear plan. So it's a toss-up. Let's just say they play the obvious move like knight c6. What's my follow-up going to be? I think it's worth considering this because if I don't have a good follow-up, then maybe I shouldn't do. Like, I'm wondering what happens if I somehow try to attack over here. Can we set something up? And it's not that easy, actually. So maybe I should not give myself a weakness. This will be interesting to see what Stockfish says. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards maybe this. I do need to consider one thing. Takes e5. No, we should be fine. I don't think there's any tactics where my queen gets in trouble. You want to pay attention, right? Because whenever there's a pawn push like this, you never know, but I think we're okay. Okay. What is happening now? What is happening now? Seems like this bishop needs to be developed. I'm thinking f4. No, then we walk into a fork. I'd love to go here and fork these, but I can't because of the bishop. Queen f3 is an interesting move. Threatening a cheapo tactic, although there's 95. Actually, 95 we could still take. Then we lose our bishop, though. So what we could do would be take, then take the bishop. That's a bit complicated, but I think it works in our favor. So queen f3 is one of those sneaky moves where I think black's going to have to be careful. Okay, if you take me here, I take you here. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, let's try that. If I didn't miscalculate, I think we have a nice little sequence here. We'll see if black's going to go for this or not. It's a sneaky tactic, right? Because we were attacking the bishop, so they noticed that much at least. Now the bishop is defended. And now 95 is probably a legitimate threat that we have to pay attention to again. So, what's the option here? If we take, I don't think I really like putting myself in that position. Bishop f4, we run into e5. Actually, hold on. Bishop f4, e5. Yeah, no, I don't think we want to go bishop f4. Bishop g5. Still have this knight e5 move. Wonder if I should swing my queen over. This might be a good... I'm not actually sure what the plan is here, guys. So I'm just kind of looking around trying to come up with ideas. Okay, yeah, I don't see any problems with this. I like that I get away from the knight. So let's do that. I get away from the knight, e5. I also get away from the pin on the bishop, from the bishop. And so this is defended enough. We would just recapture. g6. Whoa. That looks very risky. Now I think just bishop h6. Is that the best way to take advantage of that? Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's just go. We needed to get that bishop out anyway. It comes with a tempo. We have it in front of the opponent's king. Now I can play something like rook d1, line up on the queen. And even though there's a lot of pieces in between, you would be amazed how quickly these pieces can get out of the way when we start trading stuff. Yeah, and black wisely gets away from that. So we can trade and go into an endgame. Or keep the queens on the board, which is what I'm leaning towards. Something like queen h3. We can go queen h3, knight g5. Then we have some potential threats here. I don't think bishop f4 works because e5 stuff. Yeah, so let's go queen h3. I want to try not to use too much time. My opponent's playing super fast, which I can't control how fast they're going to play, obviously. But you want to try not to fall too far behind too early. But I think I'm doing okay. I mean, I still have over half my time. So, like, we're okay. Okay, then the rook's under attack. I mean, we can go here and play bishop g5. Or we just keep the rooks here. Not actually sure. The only thing I don't like about this is the knight can just move somewhere and hit my rook. That looks very awkward for me. I don't love that. Yeah, I think maybe I should just go back here. Get away. Just get away from the attack. Keep it nice and solid. Everything's defended. We've got good control. Okay. I guess the first question I have is, if I sack, check, king goes to the corner, what happens next? Queen f7 threatens checkmate. If you try to use the rook, you lose. If you try to use the bishop, you lose. If you try to use the knight, maybe I play g4. Yeah, that looks like a problem for black. So, it definitely looks like a problem for black. I see that. Yeah, I think it's worth sacking here. So let's go ahead and take. We're going to invade with the queen. And those weaknesses that we talked about earlier, we might start to see that in action. Okay, so queen f7, I think, is going to be the move here. Okay, so there's the threat. Checkmate. Not easy to deal with. I'm seeing only knight h5. That is all I'm seeing. And I think g4 is going to be pretty powerful. Notice we've got the bishop pinned. This is very important. Oh, they missed it. Yeah, they totally missed it. Uh, Not to mention, this is still checkmate. Okay, and you can see if you play that fast for that long, it's hard to not make a mistake at some point, right? And there it is. They just blundered mate and won, which don't see that too often from 1900 rated players. But on chess.com, sometimes they just try to win on time, and you get stuff like this. It's part of the deal. Okay, let's check what Stockfish had to say about that. That was a pretty interesting game. Hey, we got 200 wins. All right. Oh, so I actually messed up, and Black didn't see it. So I wonder where that moment was. Let's take a look at that. This moment in the game was right here. I played a very bad move. Queen f3. This loses a piece? Are you kidding me? Wow. If you guys want to pause, Black to play and win a piece. I didn't consider this move. I was only considering knight e5. Move is knight c5. The reason this is such a powerful move is because not only does it attack my knight, which is pinned, it also defends the bishop so that if I try to go for my little trick, it doesn't work. Now, I'm still wondering, where is it that I lose a piece? Like, if I just move my queen, how am I losing a piece? Ah, look at, wow, this is very instructive. You trade, which puts my queen in a vulnerable position, and then e5 is when I lose the knight. That is the tactic. So, quite complicated. So that's one part of it. Knight c5, if I take, I lose the piece that way. The other part of it is you've got 3 pieces attacking here now. So I'm in trouble there. If I, let's see, it takes, yeah, that's not going to end well. Yeah, that's the problem. Like, anywhere that I move my queen, you're just taking this. And I can't take back. There's just no way to defend that. Wow. And I have no other moves here. Stockfish says just sack the bishop. But either way, you lose a piece. Ooh. So it just goes to show, like, these tricky tactics, this is how you can get past 2,000. When you start seeing things like that, that's going to take you past 2,000. But that's very difficult to see, especially when you're playing as fast as my opponent was, right? Okay, so they missed that opportunity, and instead we get this position. They create the weaknesses and create a bunch of stuff. Go back. Stockfish says knight c6 was a good move. Okay, I didn't consider that in between move. All right. Oh, no. Yeah, okay. Stockfish says this was the best move in the position. Great. So, when your opponent's king is like this, you always want to be looking for those, like, moments to sack. And I didn't know for sure if it was the right decision, but it felt like a really good one. Also interesting is the next best move was sacking the rook. I guess with the same kind of idea that you're coming into f7. And knight h5 is the only way. Now you have the knight to follow up, threatening it again. They have to go rook g8. And then you play bishop g5, taking advantage of the pin that we talked about here. What an interesting position. Very, very, very complicated with a lot going on. So anyway, this was the game. And if they would have played knight h5, let's see, was it g4? No. Well, g4 is an okay move. Yeah, g4 is an okay move. Stockfish likes rook d4 a little bit better. I guess you're just going to double up and take advantage of the pin, and Black's just pinned every which way. Wow. Okay. Interesting game. All right. Let's go to the next one, guys. We get white again, and I'll play e4 this one. I don't know. Having a hard time making decisions. Let's see. We can still go for Halloween Gambit. Halloween Gambit is still good at 1900s. 1900 level. Yep. All right. Let's try it. We sack the knight. We get the 2 pawns in the center. We gain a bunch of tempos. Black can go knight c6 or knight g6. See which one they choose. Yeah, I mean, this is the typical response. People are like, okay, now what do I do, right? Most people don't study this, so they have to figure out, okay, they do play. I think that is the better option. We push now, attack the knight. It's going to go back. Oh, okay. Actually, I don't know. This is the best moment for black to do this. I thought it was a different move, but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe they can get away with this. I think we just take the piece and the game goes on and it's pretty even, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if bishop g5 is worth considering. No, I think we just probably got to take the... All right, fine. So we take that and they're going to castle. We're probably going to castle. I could play bishop e3. Yeah, let me go bishop. Try to play. I think I'm going to try to castle queenside. Basically, now we just have an relatively equal game. They sack the piece back. We don't get to push our pawns like crazy, but we're not down a piece either. So it's fine. Okay. Yeah, I'll go queen d2. Get ready to castle maybe this way. Also would consider getting the bishop pair here. Yeah, so this would force black to trade. The reason I say that is because if you try to go back, I play b4. Then I take you here. They do have to take me now. And we get the bishop pair, which is great. Two bishops against the knight and a bishop should be a slight advantage for us. Okay. Let me just look briefly. I think castling queenside, totally fine. And I'm thinking of playing g3 or maybe even just sacking this pawn straight away. Because I mean, it's just a long-term opening up of the H file if we do that. g3 is not bad either, though, because I might want to use that pawn to chase the knight around. All right, let's say we do sack it. Do I have a clear follow-up? Bishop d3 looks nice. Threatening that. I could start with bishop d3, see what black does next. They're going to want to develop their bishop, right? They're going to want to develop bishop. Bishop e2 also, because, okay, so bishop e2 stops them from going here. If they go here, then we might hit him with g4. That's interesting, too. Bishop e4, f3 takes. We can pin it to win it. Yeah, I think this is a tricky move. Let's go bishop e2. Because what I'm doing is I'm setting up support to throw my pawns forward and attack the king, right? Okay, knight f4. Guess we just go here. Obviously don't want to let them take my bishop, so I just need to get away. And maybe now I can drop my queen back to make the knight move. So h4. e3 looks risky now because the bishop is there. So probably going to play queen d2, although we'll see. We'll see. I don't have to go crazy and throw my pawns forward. That's just one plan. There are other plans in the position as well. So let's see how black's going to respond. They also might be attacking me, so I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to pause and kind of think through some of this, right? Yeah, I'm going to go back to d2 and attack the knight. Notice I'm avoiding the fork, okay? Because now if they go here, it's not a fork, which means I would have time to push by. And that keeps the position kind of closed off, which is nice. I'm going to play h4 here. Setting up maybe bishop g5. Okay, this is exactly what I was talking about. Because it's not a fork, I'm not obligated to take and open up the rook. I can simply go a4. And I keep it closed. I keep the big, major pieces like rooks and queens and bishops away from my king. Pawns in the way. You can't get through your own pawns, right? A very, very important defensive technique here. Okay, that's why I played queen d2 earlier. I mean, it was to attack the knight, but also to avoid this fork. I get forked, I have to take it, and then I'm done for. Okay. So we've stopped the attack at least temporarily, and now we can focus on our attack. Maybe at some point playing g4. I can't because the queen, but I'm thinking of going here, potentially trading this way, and then we've opened up the h file. This should be a very interesting game. This is one of the reasons why I like castling opposite my opponent, right? You just get these very interesting positions. Um, not that it's boring when you castle on the same side, but I don't know. I just really like the dynamic of the game when it's like this. I'm just trying to consider if there's any other ways to attack, but I don't really see too much, so I think I'll just continue with this. That being said, I don't know if I want to give up the... Yeah, I do. I need to continue the attack, so let's go. So if I sit around forever, I mean, black's going to play c5 at some point. Bring a rook here and take, and I am going to get attacked eventually, so I want to make sure I'm moving things along over here. Okay. This is good. That's a little bit of progress, right? We've accomplished something with that. We've got a rook that we can use to attack the king. Queen f5. Okay, so we can't play g4 because our bishop hangs. Well, we can't go here. We could play rook h4 or rook h5. I want to get two rooks is what I'm trying to do, right? Two rooks would be very dangerous. But let's go rook h4. Go rook h4 and bring this one. Yeah, this is a little dangerous because if you play b3 and I push by, there's this checkmate threat I have to keep an eye on. But my queen's positioned nicely. I think we're okay, and I think I should continue with my plan. This is a pretty serious threat because I will sack my rook here for the queen and the pawn because it's going to open up the king. Okay, yep, expected. I'm going to push by. Let's just make sure. Not a big deal because my queen is right here. Okay. And again, same concept. I want to keep the pawns on the board so that the rook can't get to my king, right? A pawn does very little. Yes, there's something I have to worry about, but it's not as much as if there was a rook attacking my king. Okay. So we're going to take here, I think, next. Assuming black's going to do something like rook e8. So rook e8, we sack, they take, take, take. Yeah, we're going to have this really interesting queen against the two rooks position. Really interesting stuff here. There might be an alter. There also might be this idea of, what am I thinking? Yeah, they do play rook e8. If we can somehow get the queen away, for example, let's just say g4, they take, and I get a checkmate with my rooks. Yeah, they probably have to go here. Okay, well, maybe I should start with the obvious. If this happens right away, what happens? I don't actually love the position, honestly. I don't love it because rook is really annoying here. But g4 maybe makes some sense. Let's just double, triple check this. If I lose my bishop and take here, do I have a guaranteed checkmate? King f8. No, I do not. They just run away. It's just literally that simple. Check here. Yeah, they just run away. So, no. Or does not work. Okay. So yeah, that probably means I need to go for this and hope that we can figure out the rest. Sometimes you have to make those decisions. Let me see. There's a rook f4, but why? Doesn't do a lot. There's bishop g4, but why? Queen just goes back. Bishop h5. Ah, okay, hold on. Bishop g4 might not be totally crazy. Let's just say they move their queen where? Here we have rook f4. Okay. I am going to try this move. The idea is if we can... The queen needs to guard this, right? Otherwise, this is pretty serious. That only leaves these two squares. Well, maybe three if they want to trade. I don't think they want to trade, though. Maybe they could. But if you assume that it's only these squares, bishop h5, followed by rook f4, seems to do the trick. See that? Here, you're lining up with the rook, which looks extremely scary. Okay, they do go for it, so I'm going to go here. Plan is rook f4. Queen f5, rook f4. Okay. So how are they going to deal with that? And now I'm starting to think about, like, maybe we sack and then come in with the rooks also. My king is not as safe as I would like it to be. This bishop and this rook are extremely dangerous, along with, the queen that I have to watch out for. They do go there. Okay, I think this is a mistake. Rook f4. I think this is a mistake. This is a problem for black, right? This is a problem. Unless I'm missing something, which is possible. Complicated position, but this just looks like a pretty simple fork and we win a change. Actually, it might even be more than that. If the king has to go here, there might be some checkmate tactics as well. Pretty complicated position. I wonder if black should have played like queen d3 instead. We'll check it with Stockfish. This is an interesting one. Okay, they just go there. I'll take here. Oh, I'm seeing all kinds of tactics here, guys. Yeah, we've got the discover check. You see that? We've got the discover check. If they take me, they lose. If they do something else, I mean, what else can they do? I just took a rook. That's a big deal. Yeah, so I think we got him. Yeah, we did. Tricky position. Let's see what Stockfish has to say about that. Okay, so we were never really in too much trouble. Something in the opening here. Or what that was all about. Oh, the Halloween Gambit. I forgot. Forgot I played that. Okay. Stockfish doesn't like Halloween Gambit. Yeah, they played Bishop B4, which is not really the best way to give back the piece. Yeah, I just take it and have a nice game. Actually, Queen E2 check was better, but who cares? Let's go this position. Okay, so yeah, Stockfish doesn't mind this move too much. It would have played B3 instead to stop that from black. Okay, I didn't really realize how important that was. This is okay. Rook H4 was good. So Stockfish likes this because you give yourself options, right? And this is really important, actually, guys. When I played Rook H4, I had no idea that in the future I was going to be moving my bishop here, attacking this pawn, and then winning the game with a tactic here. But I did see that, like, if I'm going to double my rooks, I could really move my rook any of these squares. Which one potentially gives me the best chance? And I thought to myself, okay, Rook H4, we get support in the center. We also have this idea, also supports. It just seemed like it did the most out of all those squares. So sometimes you just got to go with those feelings, and then later things pop up that you didn't necessarily think about, right? That's what happened here. Stockfish agrees with me. Oh, Stockfish says to take it. Wow. It says to take it because this checkmate threat was such a big deal. And it basically is saying, look, don't worry about the rook in this particular position. It actually is a target for a fork. That's why. Look at that. So You know, it's one of those situations where, okay, the general rule would be don't open up the file for your opponent, but there's always exceptions, and then this is in a case where the exception was the better move, right? So I messed up a little bit here. Rook e8, bishop g4 was the best move. Okay, nice. So yeah, and this is what I was thinking, right? Like if we do this trade, the rook is just so powerful here. I can't move my queen away because it's going to invade here. That once he doubles up the rooks, like I don't know how I'm surviving this. Yeah, Stockfish didn't like it either. Okay, so bishop g4, queen g6 here. Yeah, queen d3. They had to play queen d3. And then I would have probably taken it. Not the best, apparently. Played king d2. The game was going to go on. It's relatively equal. Slight advantage for me. Yeah, we already talked about this one. And the tactic that I was showing you guys, rook f8 unleashes the queen, and we take it. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Have time for one more game? I think so. One more quick game. Okay, we get black. Playing a 2023. So this should be interesting. I'll play d5. I don't want to overthink that move too much. Okay, let's just play knight f6. So we transpose to a d4 opening, Jobava London. So I'm just going to play like a Kali setup for black, basically. Okay, they're immediately going for this. I have two options. I can defend with my knight and then kick the knight next move. Or I can play bishop d6. I think I'll just defend with the knight. And it's kind of annoying for white because now when I play here, you have to go back. Right? You just have to go back. Okay, I don't really want to let this happen. I do get the bishop pair. So that might not be the end of the world. And I could probably just play bishop d6. But I think I'll play knight c7. I just don't like giving my pawns like that. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. Stockfish would say. But let's go bishop d6. Try to trade off this guy. Yeah, this is a little annoying. And I don't think I want to let this knight sit here for too long. Why is that the case? Because it's stopping my bishop. So we need to kind of consider. I think let's go ahead and castle first. And then I'm going to very quickly consider how to get rid of this, okay? I have some ideas, but we have to be a little bit careful. For example, knight d7. But knight d7, the bishop's undefended. Probably are walking into some tactics. Thinking knight e8 followed by f6 instead. Although, queen h5 could be a potentially annoying. The other thing is maybe I just take it. Maybe I just take it. I don't like doing that, but knight e8, bishop here, g6, f6. Can we get away with that is the question. I don't know. There is I don't know. But we have to do something relatively drastic to get this bishop out. We cannot just leave the bishop sit here. I mean, there's bishop d7, but that just seems too slow. You know what I'm saying? Taking followed by like b6, bishop b7, c5. That could be reasonable. Okay, we'll do it. The knight's threatening here, so I have to take it so that I can play b6 and get the bishop on the fianchetto diagonal. Well, they take with the pawn. Interesting. Interesting move. Wasn't really expecting that. I'm just going to go back here. Queen h5. Okay, we have to be a little careful. There you go. Like, for example, h6. We might just lose the game if they sack to the checkmate. But f5. This is a really good defensive move. Okay, you have to remember this. f5 in these positions is usually your best defensive option. Why? Because if they don't en passant you, you've shut down the bishop. But if they do en passant you, now your knight can get back to f6 where it does its job of defending h7, and at the same time you harass the queen. Okay? So en passant, we take with the knight. So this is a key resource you have to remember in these situations when you're being attacked on the king side. All right? Not always the best move. Sometimes you have other ones. But a lot of times it's going to be your best option. There you go. We see the attack and the defense at the same time. And now I'm feeling pretty good about my position. I think I might go queen e7, try to play e5 to let the bishop out. It might not happen, but maybe we can reroute this knight somehow. So let's see. Where's the queen going to go? H4. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, I'm going to go queen e7. Like I said, threatening to go here on e5. So I'm assuming that they're going to play bishop e5. That's what I would probably do if I was black. Okay, bishop g5. Interesting. I don't think that's as good of a move. And the reason is because it allows me to play e5. And they're thinking that they can take and checkmate me, but they can't. Look at this little detail, guys. Chess details matter, right? Look at this. This is such a key move for my position because I get a huge center now. And most importantly, my bishop can see the light of day. Yeah, here's the key. There's the detail. I'm actually fine. You guys see that? I'm actually just fine. Gonna go bishop e6 or knight e6 or something, but probably bishop e6. Bring my rook over. Quite happy with my position. In fact, I could even use this opportunity to just shut down this bishop altogether. But I don't think we have to rush on that. I think just bishop e6. Get the rooks connected. We're still threatening this. If they try to stop me, then I'll push d4. Even better. Yeah, we have a great position now. I mean, look at our center. This is awesome, right? Look at our position a couple moves ago. We're all jammed up. We can't even move. Look at our position now, right? Huge difference. White is still trying to checkmate us. I think what I'm going to do is push here, make the bishop go back, and then when they push, just play f5. The other option is just push f5 in this position. Also looks pretty good. Yeah, so I could just do that and play b5. Rook f7 is another move that might be really useful because you get support across this way. You can bring the rook to g7 if you need to. So is it rook f7 or b5 is really the question. And it's just like, do I want to play more aggressive or more defensive? I think in this position, let's just play defensive. Let's just go rook f7 at the moment. Make sure we have options. We can run with our king. We've got support this way. He plays bishop f5. Okay. Yeah. I'm tempted to take that and then just play rook g7. Takes rook g7, rook g1, rook f8, or even king h8 might be better. I think I think white has the weak pawns in that situation. And the other thing is just leave it. I don't have to like freak out. I could just leave it. Let him take me. Not a big deal. Yeah, maybe I'll do that instead. I don't know. Like some of these decisions probably don't matter that much. So let me just make one. What's the point of king h8? Well, I want to get off the light squares. But more importantly, I want to clear the way for my rook to come here. So notice, I chose, instead of like launching my own attack, to just kind of defend and play nice and solid moves over here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. So takes. If I take, it's going to take me. So then I have knight takes. So yeah, we can actually force the doubled pawns here. I think is what I'm going to do. But again, I don't have to. I can just play e4 and be happy. I could just play e4 and be happy. Let me just play e4 and be happy. Still, rook g8. And I think we're doing just fine. Okay, let's swing it over. Now we actually have a threat. Threatening this guy. Sorry, we're threatening to take here. Threatening this bishop on f5. They take me. Expected. Okay, and I'm going to bring my knight in now. Let's take with the knight. If they push, I think I'm just jumping to f3. So they're trying to stop that. I could play f5 and just really kind of shut things down. Or I could just wait and take. It does open up the h file, so we have to be a little careful. Maybe now's the time to poke at the knight. There's also the idea of playing like, let's just say f5, g5, h5 might be a crazy idea. Because if I can totally lock up this side of the board. I have to worry about defending. Oh, wait a second. Rook G8 I didn't consider. D5 is what they want, I think. H6? I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't think this really does a whole lot. White's playing pretty well. White is playing pretty well. Having a hard time figuring out what to do here, actually, guys. I wonder if that H6 F5 plan is my best plan. Maybe it is. Maybe we just go H5 F5. You'll see what I'm trying to do if I can pull this off. You'll see. If we can basically get a position where there's no open files over here, my king is actually totally safe. Now, this is a weakness, but I'm thinking I have enough pieces here to deal with that. And notice the rooks and queens can't come in, right? And then I can take my time over here attacking and doing a bunch of cool stuff on the queen side. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm actually going to do king here to blockade this pawn. And then I'll put my knight on g7, and I am rock solid. I am rock solid there. Unless white has some crazy sack, but I don't think so. I mean, you're not going to sack your queen, right? No follow-up. Even if you get your knight, let's just say here, I'm going to have my knight there. Or at least I could put it there if I want. So this is kind of what I was talking about. Like this setup, it's totally blocked off. The only danger that I'm seeing is if somehow this knight lands here. But I'm going to try not to let that happen. And I think now we can go for our attack. Okay, here's not a big deal. Here, I can always defend, right? I'm going to go here temporarily because I might want to play c5 to stop this square or to control this square. And I might want this defended. I'm not sure yet. Okay, he's going to try to trade the knights. Interesting. So c5, queen moves, d4. Okay, let's do it. This is a very interesting position, actually, because my king is... I think my king is pretty safe, but I have to be careful at the same time. Because if something happens where things open up all of a sudden, I could get in trouble this way. But like from this side of the board, I'm fine, right? I am fine. Play d4. I've got this mass of pawns in the center that are just pushing, which is great. Yeah, this is where we have to be careful. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We have to be careful. Rook's under attack. And this pawn. Okay. Tricky move. Very tricky move. I gotta move. I'm gonna lose on time if I don't pick up the pace here. I've got to move along. Yeah, see, this is what I was trying to avoid. I'm kind of messing up. Now they're going to take the pawn. But then, I don't know, then we get to attack. So maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. I get to create some attacks, some threats of my own here. Okay. Yeah, this is wild. If they play b3, we have rook b4 maybe. I could also play rook b4 straight away. Might be better. I don't know. Wow. Wow, wow. Yeah, I guess it's a question of would I rather have a rook on b7 or b8, right? Yeah, I'd rather have it on b7, but would be wrong. Interesting. All right, so that's the threat. Okay, they stopped that. No, no, no. So let me go here. And I want to play c4 and just bust everything open. The problem might be my king. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Um, I don't think I can let this rook come in, so I'm trying to avoid that. I need more time, though. That's the problem. That is the big problem. Guess we got to take this back. Yeah, 49 seconds. Unfortunately, I can't really calculate too much. Have to just go on instincts and hope I don't blunder something. So let's see how this turns out. I still think we have chances to win, although my king is starting to feel it. Whoa. I wasn't expecting them to do that. This is good for me, I think. Try to sneak over to the A file now. Meanwhile, make sure the queen can't do anything to me. I think the reason they messed up is because they let me shut out their rook. So I only have to worry about one thing now. We're going to go here. They defend. Maybe rook a4, c4? I think my king is safe. Because I have everything defended. But yeah, rook a4, c4 would be pretty good. Maybe even... Yeah, no, that's got to be the play, right? They play a4, though. Then I have to switch my plan to the attack here. I guess. What a wild game. This one will be interesting to see with Stockfish. Yeah, let's go for this. Because we're basically trying to undermine the pawns in front of the king so we can attack something. That's our play here. So this pawn is irrelevant, right? It's pinned. So we've got it defended. Okay, we go c4. We're going to take it. If they play b4, probably have to stack. I don't... Yeah, that's definitely got to be winning, right? Or we got to sack. If they don't play b4, I'm going to take. Nothing for the queen to do. Everything's defended. Okay, here we go. This has got to be the way. Yeah, now we're not behind on time too much. I don't know. Oh, they can take with the other rook. I missed that. Let's just say I missed a lot of things there, including a very beautiful checkmate. I have to say that you don't see that very often. I'm pretty sure I had a winning move. I just didn't find it in time. King C1 was a great move. I didn't consider this at all, and it just like threw me off. Yeah, I missed. Oh, I missed Queen X E3. That was the move. Checkmate. I just panicked in the time pressure. Wow. Well, it happens. For some reason, I was thinking they were going to do this. And then I was thinking I could come down here and do this. And for some reason, I was thinking this is going to win for me. But even that is not a win. So that was just a very bad decision on my part. Yeah, King C1 just like kind of panicked, honestly. Yeah, if I would have noticed this, just game over. It's literally just mate in 3. There's a checkmate. That's what should have happened. It happens. I mean, the time pressure was probably why I lost. Definitely if I had like a few more seconds or a minute or two, I would have noticed this. This is not that hard to see, but that's part of the deal. And that's, 10-minute games is not a ton of time for like too much commentary, especially against a good player. And when you get above 2,000, they're not Hotzers anymore, right? So, okay, let's just do a quick review. That was a really interesting game though, regardless of the fact that we lost. Queen G8 checkmate. Look at that. So it was basically even all game. Then I was totally winning with the brilliant sacrifice and just sort of like lost my mind at the end and lost in one move. Pretty funny, actually. Pretty funny. Okay, so I mean, they did this. We defended. Wait, what? Oh, missed this one. Check because I can't take because I put myself in a pin. Oops. They didn't see it either. Played the wrong move. I played the wrong move because... Oh my goodness. Queen takes h7. Check. This annoying pin. Okay, so we both missed a lot of things here. Wow. But this position I knew was pretty good for me. And then let me just see. Was this a good idea to defend the way that I did? Yeah, it was. This is actually one of the better moves to go for this setup, right? Because I just shut it down. There's no pieces that can really get through. Stockfish likes my move of King G7 also, and King G6. Yeah, so this was actually a great place for my king, unless of course the queen gets here and checkmates you, right? Which should not have happened. I just blundered. That should never have happened, right? Okay, so yeah, then we get the super interesting position over here. We get the attack. And we get the really nice position where we're totally winning. D4 was great, and this was a huge mistake. Yeah. I had a feeling they had to do something else. I didn't know what they needed to do. Stockfish says it's queen d4. That's apparently the move because you're threatening the queen trade. You're also threatening here. Get the queens off the board, and white can probably survive. Instead, they blunder the rook sack, which I saw. But then they kind of threw me off with this move. I was really anticipating they were going to take this the whole time. So I was thinking about here, here. This one I have rook b8. This one I just take the rook and then they come down this way. Like I had it all kind of figured out. And then when they played king c1, I was like, wait a second. What do I do? I can't go here. I can't go here. Like I was looking at sort of just this section of the board and yeah. Wow. Time pressure is brutal. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something regardless, and I will see you next time. On the bright side, the rating climb lasts a little bit longer because I didn't gain as many points. Actually, I need to update my losses. All right, guys. See you next time. Stay sharp. Play smart. Take care.